Good morning, Commissioners. This is the public hearing of November 25th, 2014. Chair Srinivasan.
Here.
Commissioner Shamir Barron.
Here.
Commissioner Bland.
Here.
Commissioner Chapin. Commissioner Devonshire. Commissioner Goldblum.
Here.
Commissioner Gustafson.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Washington.
Good morning, Commissioners. We have an item to be heard, public hearing item, Chester Court Historic District, LP 2567. The boundary description is on your agenda, and we will also be showing a map. Michael Karatzis presenting.
The proposed Chester Court Historic District consists of 18 2.5-story houses constructed in 1911 to 12 in two opposing rows on a dead-end street, along with a historic brick wall that screens the street from an adjacent below-grade subway line. These Tudor Revival-style houses are faced with red brick at their first stories and stucco with false half timbering at their second stories, altering square-headed and round-headed openings at their ground floors and angled and straight-sided oriels above. All of the houses retain the original clay tiles covering their picturesque intersecting gable roofs, and many retain their original wood doors and multi-pane wood windows. They were constructed by the Brighton Building Company to the designs of the company's president, Peter J. Collins, who served as Brooklyn's Commissioner of Buildings and maintained an extensive practice in the borough. The wall at the end of Chester Court, which extends between the western facades of numbers 31 and 32, contributes to the sense of the proposed district as a self-contained enclave. Constructed of red brick matching that of the Chester Court houses, it was built in a variety of brick bonds featuring diaperwork, recessed panels, simple pilasters, and at its center, a large round-headed parapet constructed of header bond brick with a plain round medallion. Although the Tudor Revival style was commonly used for freestanding houses, it was not often used for row houses. Remarkably well preserved a century after they were constructed, the houses of the proposed Chester Court Historic District represent an unusual assemblage of a style of row house that is rare in New York City.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any questions for Michael? Okay, it's a public hearing, so we'll take testimony. Richard Barrack.
My name is Richard Barrack. I am Land Use Director for Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. I'll be reading the Borough President's remarks. I want to thank the Landmarks Preservation Commission, Chairperson Minashki, I'm getting this right, Srinivasan, and the agency staff, including Research Unit Director, directed by Mary Beth Betts, for taking a look at Chester Court regarding the establishment of a historic district. Thank you for taking the time today to listen firsthand to what the community has to say about Chester Court as an architecturally significant street, and for allowing me to voice my support for the designation of the enclave just off Flatbush Avenue. I would also like to thank all the members of the Commission and agency staff who make these public hearings possible, as well as commend the Chester Court Block Association, led by Leslie Wright, for their tireless efforts to ensure that as Brooklyn grows, a balance between preservation and development endures. Chester Court's 18 2.5-story Tudor Revival style houses along this dead-end street, featuring faux half-timber framing, have stood the test of time and are celebrating the century mark this year. They are also historically significant because they were designed by Peter J. Collins, who served as Brooklyn Commissioner of Buildings. Collectively, these buildings represent the best of the warmth and character that define Brooklyn's architectural heritage. These buildings in the proposed district celebrate Prospect Lefferts Gardens' rich cultural heritage and are worthy of being protected, rather than being undervalued as mere assets in this opportunistic real estate market. Serving the neighborhood for a decade in the New York State Senate, I am very familiar with the grandeur of these buildings along Chester Court. Simply put, the establishment of the historic district is good planning. We are preserving the architectural integrity of one of Brooklyn's most architecturally distinguished streets, which lure enthusiasts of art and architecture to our borough. I'm confident that the Landmarks Preservation Commission will agree that the preservation area is worthy of their approval and adopt this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrack. Leslie Wright.
Good morning. My name is Leslie Wright, and I'm here today on behalf of the Chester Court Block Association. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak, and thank you for considering Chester Court row houses worthy of consideration for historic designation. We, the 18 homeowners of the Chester Court row houses, are here today in person and by photographic proxy to speak in one voice in favor of the historic designation of Chester Court. The Commission has heard today of the architectural and historic significance of the 18 row houses and the special enclave feel of the short block created by the nearly identical homes closed in on one side by the brick wall matching the homes. What I'd like to add is the fact that every Chester Court homeowner shares an appreciation for the historic import and architectural uniqueness of the row houses. We all know we live in very special homes on a truly unique block right off of one of Brooklyn's most vibrant and hectic avenues. For a tiny enclave, Chester Court is home to a wide range of people from all walks of life, some of whom have been on the block for decades, and some recent arrivals on the block. Because the row houses are connected both physically and by style along both sides of the cozy half block, Chester Court has a sense of a little village inside the much larger urban context. We've long had our own block association, and thanks to this engaged group, Chester Court has the fully refurbished wall at the end of the block, included in the proposed designation, new sidewalks lining both sides of the block, healthy new sidewalk trees protected by new tree guards, flower planters at the end of the block, and really fun annual block parties. We would be honored to receive the historic designation to help preserve this wonderful little village for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Pamela Lodi.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Payman Lothy. I'm Vice President of Urban Planning for the Real Estate Board of New York. On behalf of REBNY and its 16,000 members, I'm here to support the designation for Chester Court Historic District. Don't look so shocked. In short, this is exactly the type of historic district that we think should be designated, consistent in character and remaining largely unaltered from its original construction nearly a century ago. We feel that these homes are beautiful and should be preserved for future generations. Further, it's apparent that the property owners have been sufficiently informed of the landmarks process and their obligations, and the fact that they have lobbied their local and elected officials for support helps in the consideration for designation. In order to further assist the property owners, we hope that the Commission will provide clear and explicit guidance on what types of improvements will be permitted. Prospect Lefferts Garden is a cherished New York City neighborhood, and REBNY is proud to support the designation of Chester Court so that these distinguished buildings can be preserved for future generations of New Yorkers. We want to commend the Landmarks Commission for their careful consideration in preserving our city's architectural history. Thank you.
Thank you. Edmund J. Fanning.
My name is Ed Fanning. I came here to support this undertaking, and I represent the Ocean in the Park Houses, historic district, immediately adjacent to this. As a matter of fact, for the last 38 years, I've looked out my kitchen window every morning and looked straight down Chester Court. And it provides a different perspective, which is, from my perspective, this is a piece of calm in a very busy Flatbush Avenue beyond it. I'm looking the other way, from it. Another thought, though, in the 1979 designation report for Prospect Lefferts Gardens, it makes specific reference to this district, and it says it's identical. As a matter of fact, I was amazed the other day. I noticed it's identical down to the numbers, 15 through 32. But the major issue I see is there is a difference. The wall. The wall provides a completeness that takes two rows of houses and makes it one beautiful thing. Again, I'd like to express our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Zay.
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. The Historic Districts Council is pleased to support the designation of the 18 row houses comprising Chester Court, located in the Prospect Lefferts Gardens neighborhood of Brooklyn. Roughly 2 years ago, residents on the block reached out to HDC for help in advocating for the preservation of this charming nook, not only because of its architectural merit, but also to protect it from development pressures in its immediate vicinity. We are delighted that Chester Court is today being considered as New York City's newest historic district and urge the LPC to vote in favor of its designation. Chester Court's strong architectural cohesion is a characteristic it shares with its nearby neighbors, the Prospect Lefferts Gardens Historic District and the Ocean on the Park Historic District. In fact, we understand that the court was once considered for inclusion in the Prospect Lefferts Gardens Historic District, but for reasons lost to time was not designated. Its 2.5-story single-family row houses were designed by Peter J. Collins, a prolific local architect and the Brooklyn Commissioner of Buildings. Constructed in 1914 through 15, these charming neo-Tudor houses are unified through their massing materials and design. They feature brick bases and Mediterranean-style roofs, which encase their half-timbered second-story oriels and gables at the crown. Details alternate from house to house, with flat oriels and round arch entrances on some and three-sided oriels and square entrances on others, as well as varied patterns and colors of half-timbering. Chester Court's development history is closely connected with that of the broader Prospect Lefferts Gardens, including the neighboring historic districts, which renders it even more significant as an integral part of the area's story. Thank you.
Thank you. Ben Edwards.
Good morning, Chairperson and Commissioners. I'm here representing two organizations. One is the President of the Lefferts Man Association and as Chairman of the ULURP Committee and the 197A Committee of Community Board 9, Brooklyn. The Community Board unanimously supported this effort. Chester Court is a small cul-de-sac with 18 charming neo-Tudor homes constructed in 1914-1915 and designed by architect Peter J. Collins, who, interestingly, was the Borough Commissioner of Buildings in Brooklyn. These homes are identical to the first 20 homes across Flatbush Avenue on Rutland Road and were included in the original proposal to landmark Prospect Lefferts Garden, but were inadvertently orphaned. These are homes with architectural, historical significance that should be afforded the protection and honor of landmark designation. Presently, the rate of destruction and replacement of the homes that were the pride of the borough with the uncharacteristic structures is astounding. The history and architect, the development and maintenance of these homes give national significance. Those architectural masterpieces of Chester Court are not only the pride of the homeowners, neighbors, and visitors, but to all of Brooklyn. I strongly encourage the Landmarks Preservation Commission to grant the request to preserve the rich architectural, cultural, and historical heritage of the community by granting landmark status to these homes on Chester Court. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Yes, I understand. Yes, please. You're here to speak? Yes.
I had to be here today. I'm a Chester Court resident. Of course, I left my glasses in my brush. So, I'm a homeowner at 16 Chester Court, and I have always taken pride in being a resident in the Prospect Lefferts Garden area. But today, I am especially overwhelmed with pride and joy at the prospect of Chester Court to be included as a landmark historic district. Many of the Chester Court residents before me have worked tirelessly to make this occasion become a reality. And I'm pleased to say that many of the present residents share this sentiment. Like many of the neighborhoods around the city, PLG is changing, but I believe it is necessary for the history of the neighborhood to remain intact and that the character and intentions of the area be celebrated. It is the character and charm of the neighborhood that attracts many visitors as well as its residents. It gives us a sense of intimacy, family, and community. This is why I am confident that we will officially become a landmark district. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? Yes, please come forward.
Hi. I'm also a resident of Chester Court, and pretty much like everyone has said already, my grandparents lived on the block when I was young, so I grew up there even before we moved there, and then when my parents were able to move on the block, it feels like a generational thing and a home for all of us. I've always considered a point of pride to bring friends and family members who aren't from the area into our area to show them what it looks like, to show them one of, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of Brooklyn, to share the history of the neighborhood with them, the people who have been there across generations, the people who are moving there, and I think it would be an amazing and wonderful thing if not only the people were able to sort of share in this tradition, people who have been there for years, but people who are moving in, but also the way it looks, the timelessness of it. And so, in short, I really hope this is pushed through and passed because it really is quintessential to not only Brooklyn, but to the people who visit or stay there for a long time.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right, my understanding is that Councilmember Eugene is on his way. He's in the building. All right, I think when he comes in, we can take testimony, but we'll just move on to the next case then. And then, yes, and we'll close the hearing for now.